Hello and welcome to the Lazy Book Club podcast, the book club for those who don't want to read or leave the house. My name is Matt Gonzalez.
I'm David Cox.
And I'm Josh Matheson.
And today we are looking at chapter 5, which is, what's the title of this one?
It's called Advice from a Caterpillar.
Oh yeah, the wisest of all creatures.
That's right,
Yes.
yeah.
So
Sitting on a mushroom.
last week we left Alice happening across the caterpillar on top of the mushroom, is it? This is after her going into the White Rabbit's house, drinking a potion, becoming really big. Then they tried to get her out by sending Bill the lizard in, who got kicked out the chimney.
That's it.
Then they threw cake at her, which she ate, shrunk back down, ran out the door.
So she's currently tiny again. She got chased by a dog, if you
puppy,
remember.
Yes.
yeah, there was a puppy.
And then she's looking for a way to make herself normal-sized again.
And she's happened across a caterpillar smoking a hookah
On a toadstool.
on a toadstool.
Is that about right?
That's
That
literally
brings us
where
up
we
to
left
date.
her. Yes, I believe that brings us up to date.
Grand.
She definitely needs a win.
Yeah.
it's like,
But this chapter is interesting because this seems to be getting now back in line with the movies and the film adaptations that we know. Like the caterpillar always ends up in these. Whereas the last chapter and the chapter before that...
Loads of characters that I'd never heard of.
no idea. That was quite nice though, because it builds up a bit more. So hopefully her behaviour is easier to understand. Like, I can understand why you're having a bit of a nervous breakdown, given the house. And
You've just run around in circles and had to give away comfits as prizes.
I love the prizes. So, man, there must be prizes. I'm like, you know what? I would be like that.
Yeah, met a French mouse and kicked a lizard with guinea pigs out of a chimney. Like, you kind of start to realize why she's a bit perturbed by the whole
Yeah.
She's going to need
experience,
counselling
and
after this.
I think
if she gets back to England.
Yeah, it's
on
so
a
true.
couch going, so let's start from the beginning. So why do you think
I was falling. So we dive into chapter 5?
Let's.
Here we go.
Chapter 5. Advice from a Caterpillar. The caterpillar and Alice looked at each other for some time in silence. At last, the caterpillar took the hookah out of its mouth and addressed her in a languid, sleepy voice. I need a voice, please. Team.
Languid and sleep.
I'm immediately getting a very sassy vibe from the caterpillar. Well, just if someone's just happened across you, you're just looking at her, smoking her hookah, just not saying anything.
I know where he comes across as a guy, but could he be like a debonair sort of old Broadway doll? Like, it's like, darling, I've been in the business for 30 years.
Yeah. So we're thinking
Great.
Sunset Boulevard,
Cheslong.
that kind of Dame of the Silver Screen.
Yeah.
Kind of, yeah. I mean...
Elegant,
Yeah.
always dressed to the nines, she
I'm
always
thinking
descends
Cruella
the
de Vil.
staircase. Hello, Dolly. Anytime she comes down the stairs in the morning, there's about 30 sort of waiters putting their hand up in the air,
Yes.
and she sort of descends the stairs.
Yes, let's do that. Can you do that?
Cheers, lads.
That's quite a good sort of... We created a world for you.
Yes,
lovely.
exactly.
No,
All
yeah.
you have to do is do what I think.
Yeah.
Live in it. That's great.
Just think, darling. Every line.
Sass, 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 sass.
Yes.
Super.
Work.
Who are you?
Win. Perfect.
Said the caterpillar. This was not an encouraging opening for a conversation. Alice replied, rather shyly. I hardly know, sir, just at present. At least I know who I was when I got up this morning, but I think I must have been changed several times since then. And what do you mean by that? Said the caterpillar sternly. Explain yourself.
This is reminding me of some directors I've worked with. You know what I mean? Like, so they walk into rehearsals with their little neckerchief and you're just like, oh, here he comes.
I used to work with a director who would smoke a pencil every rehearsal.
No.
He'd flounce it, he'd sit down and he'd put a pencil in his mouth. He'd go like this to light it, and then he'd just be like, go. It was
Oh, wow.
fabulous.
What
I know.
on earth?
He was great. I can't explain myself, I'm afraid, sir, said Alice, because I'm not myself, you see. I don't see, said the caterpillar. I'm afraid I can't put it more clearly, Alice replied very politely, for I can't understand it myself to begin with, and being so many different sizes in a day is very confusing. It isn't, said the caterpillar. Well, perhaps you haven't found it so yet, said Alice, But when you have to turn into a chrysalis, you will someday know, and then, after that, into a butterfly. I should think you'll feel a little queer, won't you?
Yeah, he's been being very presumptuous there, isn't he? To someone who stayed the same size the entire time, telling you, what do you mean? That's not something to be disturbed by.
And he knows it's going to happen. She's literally been having cakes, drinks, and it's all happened within, let's say, a few hours.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, I know you're going to have stuff happening, but you're not even on the same level, mate.
No.
I nearly died. They nearly set next to me in a house. So don't talk to me how you're going to be in a leaf for 3 months and turn into a butterfly.
I fell 4,000 miles. Don't you dare talk
I
down
fell
to
to the
me.
centre of the earth. Not a bit, said the caterpillar. Well, perhaps your feelings may be different, said Alice. All I know is it would feel very queer to me. You? Said the caterpillar contemptuously. Who are you? Which brought them back again to the beginning of the conversation. Alice felt a little irritated at the caterpillars making such very short remarks, and she drew herself up and said very gravely, I think you ought to tell me who you are first.
Ooh, very sassy.
She's she was
Her patience is getting thinner, isn't it?
She was having imaginary theoretical conversations with her cat and imagining curtsying to Australia.
Yeah.
Which is a far cry from now, addressing a higher status character.
She's becoming more resilient.
I'm very
She
impressed
is.
with her. I'm very proud of Alice at this point in time.
I've noticed as well that Lewis Carroll likes kind of like these very circular moments where you kind of end up stuck in a loop.
Sure.
Do you know what I mean? Like, does it happen with the key and the potion? Big again, forgot
Big
the key,
again, small again.
forgot
Broken
the key,
record.
big-
Yeah.
and it's like, and it's the same here with this conversation just going back to the
in
top
circles.
each time.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's meant to kind of display some kind of insanity regarding Wonderland or I don't know.
Why?
That
Said
took me
the
by surprise.
caterpillar. Here was another puzzling question. And as Alice could not think of any good reason, and as the caterpillar seemed to be in a very unpleasant state of mind, she turned away. Come back, the caterpillar called after her. I've something important to say. This sounded promising, certainly. Alice turned and came back again. Keep your temper, said the caterpillar. Is that all? Said Alice, swallowing down her anger as well as she could. No, said the caterpillar. Alice thought she might as well wait, as she had nothing else to do, and perhaps after all it might tell her something worth hearing. For some minutes it puffed away without speaking, but at last it unfolded its arms, took the hookah out of its mouth again, and said, So, you think you're changed, do you?
I'm sorry, we absolutely nailed it with this voice.
Well done.
I mean,
Okay.
how dramatic can you be?
Wow.
Like literally sitting there in silence or making the other person wait for you to start talking.
If I came in today to record and just go, hey, and just go and take my time on the sofa, unfurl. You'd be like, what?
What is wrong with
Commanding the
this
room.
person?
Yeah.
Commanding the mushroom.
Come on.
The alternate name for the chapter.
If he wrote a book, it would be called How to Command the Mushroom.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm afraid I am, sir, said Alice. I can't remember things as I used, and I don't keep the same size for 10 minutes together. Can't remember what things, said the caterpillar. Well, I've tried to say, how doth the busy little bee, but it all came out different, Alice replied in a very melancholy voice.
I thought the poem she said was the crocodile one.
I
don't remember there being a bee poem.
don't think she's done this one yet.
No.
She must have done that,
Oh, she's just
her
lying.
head.
She's
Behind
just
the scenes.
lying.
Yeah.
barefaced lie.
I remember them saying the crocodile. Do you remember she said, how doth the little crocodile...
Oh, yes.
Whatever, but I've never heard a bee poem before so far.
There you go. Repeat. You are old, Father William, said the caterpillar. Alice folded her hands and began. You are old, Father William, the young man said, and your hair has become very white. And yet you incessantly stand on your head. Do you think at your age it is right? In my youth, Father William replied to his son, I feared it might injure the brain. But now that I'm perfectly sure I have none, why I do it again and again. You are old, said the youth, as I mentioned before, and have grown most uncommonly fat. Yet you turn a back somersault in at the door. Pray, what is the reason of that? In my youth, said the sage, as he shook his grey locks, I kept all of my limbs very supple. By the use of this ointment, 1 shilling the box. Allow me to sell you a couple? You are old, said the youth, and your jaws are too weak for anything tougher than suet. Yet you finished the goose with the bones and the beak. Pray, how did you manage to do it? In my youth, said, this is like there's a hole in my bucket. This goes on forever.
I think this caterpillar is just buying time. Like,
this is Alice reading.
It's that word count again, isn't it? He's just trying to fill the pages.
He's like, what can I get her to say? Or just go like...
Oh, that's that really long poem that she'll probably know.
Is this what Victorian children used to do at school?
There was a lot of recitation, wasn't there?
Yeah, it's another banger from Victorian times.
Yeah.
Good grief.
Another number one hit.
Gordon Bennett.
I think it's just basically because he's got 2 characters and he's like, what do I do for them to talk for a whole chapter?
They could talk about what's happened.
I know,
There's
exactly.
loads to talk about.
She could be like, so where is this place that we currently reside?
Yeah, it's like...
Where am I?
What do you do?
Why have I turned up here?
Is there a shop?
Yeah. How do I get in the garden? You know that garden, back in the door? How do I get in that?
Well, they've not even solved the who are you situation.
Well, exactly.
They could have done that, couldn't they?
And then if they get bored, then they can start doing a rap battle. The world's worst rap battle is now happening.
It really is.
Is there more to this poem?
It keeps going.
Okay.
We're not finished. I'm so sorry.
No, keep going.
Let's get
all right, let's just plough through.
Okay.
In my youth, said his father, I took to the law and argued each case with my wife, and the muscular strength which it gave to my jaw has lasted the rest of my life. You are old, said the youth. One would hardly suppose that your eye was as steady as ever. Yet you balanced an eel on the end of your nose. What made you so awfully clever?
That's not clever.
That escalates quickly, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I have answered 3 questions, and that is enough, said his father. Don't give yourself airs. Do you think I can listen all day to such stuff? Be off, or I'll kick you downstairs. That is not said right, said the caterpillar.
She's getting director's notes now.
Yeah, it's perfect. I'm just going like this.
He's like, I didn't feel it.
I don't
monologue.
believe
I didn't
you.
feel it. I don't believe you.
Not quite right, I'm afraid, said Alice timidly. Some of the words have got altered. It is wrong from beginning to end, said the caterpillar decidedly, and there was silence for some minutes.
Can I just say, if she's done it completely wrong, she's done very well to make it rhyme even though it's wrong.
Yeah, she's done a great job.
Do you know what I mean? Because normally, like, when you forget the words to a song or you say something wrong in, like, Shakespeare...
All goes
when
to
you're
pop.
doing a Shakespeare. Yeah, exactly. Like, it never rhymes. It doesn't fit the iambic pentameter or anything. Like, the fact that she's kept that rhythm and that rhyme going despite the fact that apparently everything is wrong is quite impressive.
Strong stuff. The caterpillar was the first to speak. What size do you want to be? It asked. Oh, I'm not particular as to size, Alice hastily replied.
Can I be the size I was? Not like, 7,
It's
8.
whatever.
I want to just say that's what she said.
You will.
Say the line before.
Okay. Oh, I'm not particular as to size,
That's what she said.
Alice hastily replied. Only one doesn't like changing so often, you know. I don't know, said the caterpillar. Alice said nothing. She had never been so much contradicted in all her life before, and she felt that she was losing her temper. Are you content now? Said the caterpillar. Well, I should like to be a little larger, sir, if you wouldn't mind, said Alice. 3 inches is such a wretched height to be. It is a very good height indeed, said the caterpillar angrily, rearing itself upright as it spoke. It was exactly 3 inches high.
Oh, she's offended him.
She really has. It's like the whole...
He's basically called her. He said, "I don't like being short," and she's the same height as him.
Yeah, it's like the birds and the mice all over again.
He's not very sure of himself if he's offended by that because
Yeah.
he's supposed to be that size.
I'm not 3 inches for a caterpillar is huge.
Pretty big.
That's like grub. No, those mealy grubs they eat
grub.
on those Survivor things.
I don't know if my friend Ali, who's hopefully will listen to this, he's not scared of anything else but caterpillars.
Oh, really?
To the point that once when I was living with him, sent a WhatsApp of a picture of a caterpillar, and he wouldn't eat for the next 24 hours. And his girlfriend had a massive go at me because he wouldn't eat the lovely meal that she prepared. I was like, what?
I'm really tempted to find out what the origin of that was. Did he have a particually traumatic experience with the hungry caterpillar as a child?
Yeah.
No, mummy, no, don't read me the book.
Yeah, he was a very impoverished child and was very jealous and angry at the very hungry caterpillar.
Exactly. Because he's
Stop eating!
Eating all this stuff.
That was mine!
But I'm not used to it, pleaded poor Alice in a piteous tone. And she thought to herself, I wish the creatures wouldn't be so easily offended. You'll get used to it in time, said the caterpillar, and it put its hooker into its mouth and began smoking again. This time, Alice waited patiently until it chose to speak again. In a minute or two, the caterpillar took the hooker out of its mouth and yawned once or twice and shook itself.
He's so rude.
Yeah.
Dismissive.
Yeah.
And then it got down off the mushroom and crawled away into the grass, merely remarking as it went, One side will make you grow taller, and the other side will make you grow shorter. One side of what? The other side of what? Thought Alice to herself. Of the mushroom, said the caterpillar, just as if she had asked it aloud, and in another moment it was out of sight. Alice remained looking thoughtfully at the mushroom for a minute, trying to make out which were the two sides of it. As it was perfectly round, she found this very difficult question. However, at last she stretched her arms round it as far as they would go, and broke off a bit of the edge with each hand.
So, how many pages are we into this at the moment?
Pass, about 4, maybe.
So 4 pages of this chapter has just been this caterpillar talking, and the only thing we needed to know, he's literally said in one line and then walked off.
That's right. He's gone now.
It could have been a much shorter chapter, couldn't it?
Yeah. Just like, right, mate, yeah, how you doing, man? Yeah, cool.
I want to be bigger.
Bit small at the moment.
Eat the mushroom.
Side. Cool. Have a good one, mate.
Yeah, exactly. See ya.
Just like, I think he's just like, he just
faffing.
loves wasting people's time.
Yeah.
He's just going off to the grass going, I can't believe I made it do that poem. What an idiot.
He just wanted an audience. That's all it was. He wanted a captive audience.
Yeah. His only other neighbour's a gigantic puppy.
Yeah.
And now which is which, she said to herself, and nibbled a little of the right-hand bit to try the effect. The next moment she felt a violent blow underneath her chin. It had struck her foot. She was a good deal frightened by this very sudden change, but she felt there was no time to be lost, as she was shrinking rapidly.
But wait, hang on. So her chin has hit her foot?
Yeah.
So what, has her body shrunk, but her head and foot stayed the same size?
Yeah,
Was this the telescope thing happening?
Yeah,
We talked
I'm
about
trying
it.
to work out how
Yes.
the logistics of this.
There's a helpful illustration in the version of the book I'm reading, which just shows a head on some shoes with hands.
That's going to be a stressful
So
afternoon,
I
isn't it?
think her entire body has shrunk down to almost nothing, but the top and the bottom have stayed the same.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
She looks like a little crab person. We'll have to post that so people can see it.
Yeah.
Yes.
She was a good deal frightened by this very sudden change, but she felt there was no time to be lost, as she was shrinking rapidly. So she set to work at once to eat some of the other bit. Her chin was pressed so tightly against her foot that there was hardly room to open her mouth. But she did it at last, and managed to swallow a morsel of the left-hand bit. "Come, my head's free at last," said Alice in a tone of delight, which changed into alarm in another moment when she found that her shoulders were nowhere to be found. All she could see, when she looked down, was an immense length of neck, which seemed to rise like a stalk out of the sea of green leaves that lay far below her. "What can all that green stuff be?" said Alice. "And where have my shoulders got to? And oh, my poor hands, how is it that I can't see you?" She was moving them about as she spoke, but no result seemed to follow, except a little shaking among the distant green leaves.
So I'm guessing the green is some kind of plant. So is this flowers or is this trees?
I think it's like tree canopy.
Well, yeah, I'm trying to work out how long is this neck? Is she shot up above the tree line, or is she just shot up above the bushes, or is she just shot up above the grass? Like,
really long.
All I know is the caterpillar sat there with popcorn going like...
yeah, even watching
I knew that. Because
So
he
now
couldn't have said,
she's got-
you eat that part specifically. But he's going, each one.
Yeah.
So she's going to be like...
Oh, he's messing with her.
Yeah.
As there seemed to be no chance of getting her hands up to her head, she tried to get her head down to them. And she was delighted to find that her neck would bend about easily in any direction, like a serpent.
Oh,
That's pretty gross.
this is creepy.
She had just succeeded in curving it down into a graceful zigzag and was going to dive in among the leaves, which she found to be nothing but the tops of the trees
Oh, so it's
under
the
which she had
trees.
been wandering. Yes, the trees.
Oh, wow. So this is a long neck.
Yeah.
She's gone from 3 inches to like meters of neck.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm imagining like sort of a pine forest. So we're talking like 50 meters.
Yeah. I mean, if you're talking like redwoods.
Wow. So that caterpillar would probably be invisible to her now.
Yeah.
I'd be like, right, you've been messing me around.
Yeah.
Bye.
Squish.
Just headbutt him.
Yeah. Also, this is an advert about taking hallucinogenic mushrooms.
Yeah. Well, I think there is a theory about this whole book being some kind of drug trip. Yeah.
That's very, it's an actual mushroom because it's,
She had just succeeded in curving it down into a graceful zigzag and was going to dive in among the leaves, which she found to be nothing but the tops of the trees under which she had been wandering, when a sharp hiss made her draw back in a hurry. A large pigeon had flown into her face and was beating her violently with its wings. What does said pigeon sound like? I need to know.
Can you do an impression of Sarah Millican?
Is that the Geordie?
She sounds
comic?
like that. She's
that
just
the
speaks
Geordie-
with a falsetto the whole time.
You know what's really
Great.
creepy? I was thinking that exact same thing.
No, you weren't.
No, I literally was. I was literally thinking, what's that comic? Who's the Geordie? She'd make a really good pigeon.
Because she said like it's like cool.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you're right
Yeah,
about
you know who we're talking
Yeah,
about?
no, I know exactly
Yeah,
what you're talking
yeah, that voice.
Okay. Okay.
That's really creepy. You
Fine.
need to get out of my head.
Great. So pigeon beating her violently with its wings. Serpent! Screamed the pigeon. I'm not a serpent, said Alice indignantly. Let me alone. Serpent again, I said no, wait, hang on, I'm going to read it properly. Oh, I got myself carried away, didn't I? Okay, wait, okay. Serpent, I say again, repeated the pigeon, but in a more subdued tone, and added with a kind of sob, I've tried everywhere, but nothing seems to suit them. I haven't the least idea what you're talking about, said Alice. I've tried the roots of trees, and I've tried banks, and I've tried hedges, the pigeon went on, without attending to her. But those serpents, there's no pleasing them. Alice was more and more puzzled, but she thought there was no use in saying anything more till the pigeon had finished. As if it wasn't trouble enough hatching the eggs, said the pigeon. But I must be on the lookout for serpents night and day. Why, I haven't had a wink of sleep these last 3 weeks. I'm very sorry you've been annoyed, said Alice, who was beginning to see its meaning. And just as I'd taken the highest tree in the wood, continued the pigeon, raising its voice to a shriek, and just as I was thinking I should be free of them at last, they must needs come wriggling down out of the sky. Ugh, serpent! But I'm not a serpent, I tell you, said Alice. I'm a... Well, what are you? Said the pigeon. I can see you're trying to invent something. I'm a little girl, said Alice, rather doubtfully, as she remembered the number of changes she had gone through that day. A likely story indeed, said the pigeon in a tone of deepest contempt. I've seen a good many little girls in my time, and never one with a neck such as that. No, you're a serpent, and there's no use denying it. I suppose you'll be telling me that you've never tasted an egg next. Well, I have tasted eggs, certainly, said Alice, who was a very truthful child. But little girls eat eggs quite as much as serpents do, you know. I don't believe it, said the pigeon.
That's the best soundbite from today. I don't believe it. Is it Fireman Sam? There's a Geordie character.
Yeah.
Oh, Norman Price has fallen down the well.
I loved Fireman Sam.
It's so good. So she's worried that Alice is trying to eat her eggs.
She thinks because of the long neck, she thinks she's a snake.
She thinks she's a snake and that she's going to eat her eggs.
Yeah.
Okay.
But if they do, why then you're a kind of serpent, that's all I can say. This was such a new idea to Alice that she was quite silent for a minute or two, which gave the pigeon the opportunity of adding, "You're looking for eggs, I know that well enough. And what does it matter to me whether you're a little girl or a serpent?" "Well, it matters a good deal to me," said Alice hastily, "but I'm not looking for eggs, as it happens, and if I was, I shouldn't want yours. I don't like them raw." "Well, be off then," said the pigeon in a sulky tone, as it settled down again into its nest. Alice crouched down among the trees as well as she could, for her neck kept getting entangled among the branches, and every now and then she had to stop and untwist it. After a while, she remembered that she still held the pieces of mushroom in her hands, and she set to work very carefully, nibbling first at one and then at the other, and growing sometimes taller and sometimes shorter, until she had succeeded in bringing herself down to her usual height. It was so long since she had been anything near the right size that it felt quite strange at first, but she got used to it in a few minutes and began talking to herself, as usual.
We've missed...
We're back to normal now.
Do you know what? The last two characters have been so rude that I'm actually quite sort of relieved that she's going to have another daft conversation with herself.
Yeah, it's true.
By this time, she's every time she comes across another animal, she's going to be like, oh, God.
Yeah.
As she said this, she came suddenly upon an open place with a little house in it about 4 feet high. "Whoever lives there," thought Alice, "it'll never do to come upon them this size. Why, I shall frighten them out of their wits." So she began nibbling at the right-hand bit again, and did not venture to go near the house until she had brought herself down to 9 inches high.
Right, okay. So the house is small. So she's decided so she can go in, she needs to make herself smaller.
I'm glad she can control it.
Because she's obviously worked it out now. She's kind of nibbling.
That must be quite a relief, because before, every time you're trying something, you don't know which way it's going to go. That would be a stressful day.
Well, that, gents, is the end of the chapter.
I feel like now that she has something in her hands which allows her to control her size, she's almost like more in control when she comes into these situations now.
Yeah, sure.
So it's like she's actually able to go, oh, there might be people in there. I'm going to prepare before I turn up at the door. Whereas up till now, it's always been like the size has happened to her, and then she's like, oh crap, a dog that's massive and I can't interact with it, or oh crap, I'm really long and there's a pigeon, or she's never been in control of the situation, whereas now she is.
It's kind of like one of the first decisions she's made for the benefit of other people. Up till now, she's just been sort of blindly going on and making choices for herself. But this seems to be the first considerate thing that she's done, is it? I don't know. Can't remember now.
I don't think it's going to be a person. It's going to be a duck with a with a back of a dinosaur that just talks in metaphor or something.
A short temper.
Let's be honest, it's not just going to be a guy called Jeff. It's like, hello,
Jeff.
I mean, if it is
she's knocking
Jeff,
on the door going, oh, please be Jeff.
If it is Jeff, Jeff will be the name of some kind of, Mesopotamian squid or something.
Yeah, exactly. So, according to SparkNotes, the caterpillar may represent the threat of sexuality as suggested by its phallic shape.
I think SparkNotes will... What?
So, it says here that Alice recognises this threat when she calls attention to the caterpillar's impending bodily transformation, since caterpillars reach sexual maturity in butterfly form. So they're basically trying to say it's kind of like a bit of a metaphor for like adulthood to come.
And he got pissed off when he said only 3 inches.
Well,
which is
this is exactly what I'm about to say.
Insecurity.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I don't think many guys would be like, oh, is that it? would feel very good after you saying that to them. I found out something this week.
Ooh.
And I wanted to
You've been
leave
cheating,
it.
Matt.
No, I haven't. Did either of you know that Lewis Carroll's name isn't Lewis Carroll?
I mean, I didn't, but that wouldn't surprise me.
No, a lot of authors have got...
Yeah. No, I mean, I know a lot of authors, particularly in this time as well, had pen names.
But his name is Carol Lewis.
No.
That would be
woman.
I don't know.
No, his name is Charles Ludwig Dodson, or Ludwig. I'm guessing Ludwig because it sounds German. Yeah, Ludwig Dodson is actually his name. So there you go. And he was born in 1832.
Do you know?
So that kind of gives us an idea of the year, because when we said in the first episode, when was this book written, none of us knew.
Do you know, actually, now you've said that, I worked on a production of an adaptation of Alice in Wonderland a few years ago, and the playwright had written in a character called Dodgson, and I think that was an ode to.
Ah.
And I think that's just clicked for me.
Yes. If you'd like to join the conversation, then you can email us on thelazybookclub@gmail.com.
Or like the pigeon, you could give us a little tweet
Whey!
using @LazyBookClubPod.
And we're exactly the same on Instagram @LazyBookClubPod.
If you have been enjoying our podcast, then please do subscribe, and please do leave a lovely 5-star review. It does help other people find us. Do you want to give us the chapter title for the next one?
Oh, would you like a little...
Yeah, I'd like to kind of know who... I'm trying to see who's in the house. We're trying to... Is it Jeff?
It's not Jeff. Sorry to disappoint. Chapter 6 is entitled Pig and Pepper.
Oh.
Not a clue.
Yeah. Is this where they stole the idea for that cartoon, Peppa Pig?
Maybe.
Mate, Lewis Carroll, I'd get your lawyers involved. So there you go. If you want to find out about the pig and the pepper, then tune in next week.